Hello boys, I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Okay, so task 6.10 said that we must complete the general journal entries to correct the following errors that occurred in the books of NM traders. And we have to provide suitable narrations. Now the first transaction took place on the 4th of May. It said a check for 1,845 Rand issued to LM suppliers for an office desk purchased was entered in the trading stock column in the CPJ and posted as such. The reason why this is an error is because we didn't buy trading stock, we bought a desk. Okay, so we should have debited equipment. That's the asset that we bought. We must go and credit trading stock because we accidentally debited it and we have to take that value out, and our narration will only be correction of error. Very important, you don't have to write zeros in the debtors and creditors control columns if it didn't affect debtors and creditors control, but I do it for myself just so that I can look at my general journal at the end and see that everything is complete and I didn't miss something. And remember what I said in the examples is that I want you to classify the accounts in brackets because it helps you to determine whether this must be balance sheet or nominal. Okay, then the next transaction took place on the 8th. It said stationery purchase on credit from Regal Wholesalers as per invoice for 154 Rand was erroneously posted to the account of Regent Wholesalers in the creditors ledger. So we bought stationery on credit, but we credited to the wrong creditors account. Okay, so what we must do is we must go and debit Regent Wholesalers because we didn't buy from them, so we don't owe them that money. And we must go and credit the creditor that we actually bought the stationery from, Regal Wholesalers, and you say that it's a correction of error. It's very important that you specify the name of the creditors, especially in a situation like this, because if you write creditors control in both lines without specifying the creditor, then it's just confusing. And remember, both of these amounts will affect the creditors control column. Okay, then the next transaction took place on the 12th, and it said that the April telephone account for 537 Rand paid by check was entered in the consumable stores column in the CPJ in error. So the problem here is we actually debited consumable stores instead of debiting telephone. Okay, so we must go and fix it by debiting telephone and crediting consumable stores, and then you just say correction of error. Both of them are expense accounts, which will affect the nominal section. The next transaction on the 13th said the cost of delivering trading stock to NM traders, remember that's us, 370 Rand, was entered in the delivery charges column in the petty cash journal in error. The reason why this is an error is because every time when we pay to get trading stock delivered to our store, we actually debit that value to the trading stock account because it's seen as part of the cost price of our stock. Remember that from term 1. So we should have debited trading stock and not delivery charges. So you go and credit delivery charges to take that amount out there. Then on the 15th, goods were sold on credit for 142 Rand as per invoice to Al Lane. So this would have happened in the DJ. But the amount was charged to the account of Al Lion. So our mistake here, or our error here, is that we debited the wrong debtor. We should have debited Al Lane. Okay, so to fix it, you go and debit Al Lane, credit Al Lion because they didn't buy something from us. Okay, and then it's a correction of error. Both of them will affect the debtors control columns, so remember to write it there. Then on the 17th, trade discount of 50 Rand was erroneously, that's a very difficult word to pronounce, especially if you're Afrikaans, omitted from an invoice issued to J. Jones last month. Now, what's important about this transaction on the 17th is that it could also go to the DAJ because it's just discount that we must allow. So it would go to debtors allowances and to debtors control. However, in this case, we posted it to the general journal by debiting debtors allowances. It's an expense to us. Crediting debtors control because now J. Jones owe us a little bit less. she received some discount, and it's a correction of error. The reason why we made a little star there or asterisk is because you'll see at the end of the document it just says that this transaction specifically could have gone to the DAJ as well. Then the next transaction on the 19th said goods returned by B White as per credit notes. Obviously this would have taken place in the DAJ for 575 Rand was incorrectly recorded in the account of W Byte. Okay, so if a debtor returns something, we credit their accounts. But the problem is that we credited the wrong debtor. Okay, so we credited W Byte and we shouldn't have. To fix it, we must go and debit W Byte. The person or the debtor that actually sends stuff back is B White. Their account must be credited and it's a correction of error. Remember once again, both of these amounts will affect the debtors control column there, so you have to record it there as well. And very important, I can't stress this enough, you must write the names of the debtors next to debtors control. Then the next transaction on the 21st said goods taken by the owner for personal use were incorrectly recorded and posted last month as 140 Rand instead of 40 Rand. So last month when this error was made, we debited drawings with 140 and we credited trading stock with 140. But the owner only took goods with a value of 40 Rand. So to fix this, we must go and credit drawings, okay, because drawings is not as big as we stated it to be. And we must go and debit trading inventory because the owner didn't take as much stock as we recorded. So to fix that error, it would look like this. There was a similar transaction in one of the previous exercises. Then on the 27th, merchandise returned to LW traders and recorded in the CAJ for 188 Rand was incorrectly debited against the account of LW wholesalers. Okay, so when we send stock back to a creditor, we will debit the creditor's account, but the problem is we debited the wrong creditor. So we have to go and debit LW traders, that's the creditor that we actually send the stock back to. We have to credit LW wholesalers because we didn't send the stock back to them. Okay, and we accidentally debited their account, and it's just a correction of error. And then lastly, on the 31st, the total of the wages column in the CPJ amounting to 1,842 was incorrectly posted to the salaries account. So in this case, we just debited the wrong expense account. We must have debited wages and we shouldn't have debited salaries. So we go and credit salaries to fix this error. And right at the end, please remember that you must also total your debtors control and creditors control columns.